welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most epic and honestly tragic historical narratives ever recorded in ancient religious texts. We're talking about the mighty civilization of Ad. And, this isn't just some dusty story about ancient ruins. It's a really profound look at the absolute peak of human achievement and, well, the very deep depths of human arrogance. Just think about that for a second. What happens when the absolute pinnacle of human wealth, architecture, and physical might is just erased, swallowed by the sand in mere minutes? There's no long, drawn-out decline, no slow crumbling over centuries, just a sudden, terrifying disappearance. That's the core mystery of the people of Ad, a civilization whose towering structures were literally unmatched. So, to set the stage, our story anchors around the year 2000 BC, right in those generations following the Great Flood of Noah. The source material tells us that during this era, a completely new civilization emerged in the Arabian Peninsula. These were the people of Ad. And according to the texts, they were completely unmatched. We're talking immense physical strength, stunning beauty, and an absolute abundance of wealth that basically let them dominate their world. Now, if you look at the region stretching from Oman to Yemen today, it's dominated by the Rub al Khali, which is often called the Empty Quarter. It's this terrifying, massive expanse, 650,000 square meters of deep, shifting, white sand where anything you drop can just disappear in minutes. But the historical sources reveal a really stunning contrast. Back then, this exact same spot was a lush, green paradise. It was absolutely packed with flowing canals, blooming orchards, and just massive agricultural wealth. And right in the middle of this lush paradise, the 13 tribes of Ad built something truly extraordinary. They built Iram, which is often translated as the City of Pillars. This was an architectural marvel that was completely alien to the ancient world, boasting 30 towering minarets and massive fortifications. And what's absolutely mind-blowing here is that this wasn't just some myth. In 1984, imagery from the Challenger space shuttle actually helped archaeologists discover the subterranean ruins of this legendary city right beneath the sands. So, who was the mastermind behind all this incredible ambition? Enter King Shaddad. He was a ruler of unprecedented size and power, but, as you might guess, he was also consumed by absolute arrogance. The story goes that upon hearing descriptions of paradise and the afterlife, King Shaddad made a deeply hubristic decision. He didn't want to wait for an afterlife. He arrogantly decided, you know what? I'm going to construct a literal permanent paradise right here on Earth to rival it. The sheer scale of his ambition was staggering. It took 300 years of intense, continuous day and night labor to construct Shaddad's earthly paradise. We are talking about literal generations of workers dedicating their entire lives to building these extravagant palaces, artificial waterfalls, and sprawling canals, all just to satisfy the ego of one supreme ruler. But here's where the story takes a massive turn into dramatic irony. King Shaddad actually lived to the astonishing age of 900 years old. He waited centuries to see his ultimate masterpiece completed. Yet, according to the historical accounts, the very moment the city was finally finished, as he arrived with his royal entourage and stood right at those magnificent gates, he died. He never took a single step inside his false paradise. Wild, right? Now, despite all this incredible success, the people of Ad were spiritually bankrupt. In fact, they became the very first post-Noah civilization to fall back into deep idolatry. Despite their unparalleled wealth and architectural genius, instead of acknowledging a higher power for their blessings, they passionately worshipped stone gods. They prayed to idols made of plain rock, with names like Sawa, Yaguth, Yauk, Nos, and Sidah. They put all their faith in stone, and of course, their own physical might. And it's exactly at this peak of arrogance and idolatry that a figure named Prophet Hud enters the narrative. Now, Hud wasn't some outsider coming in to preach. He was a handsome, noble, and highly respected man from their very own elite Kulud tribe. He was chosen to deliver a critical intervention, basically trying to guide his people away from this extreme material obsession and bring them back toward monotheism. Hud's message was actually remarkably simple. He urgently pleaded with them, saying, "Worship one God. You have no deity other than him." He tried to remind them of their lush gardens, their towering bodies, their flowing springs, and just asked them to show some basic gratitude to the Creator who provided all of it, rather than bowing down to lifeless chunks of stone. But how do you think the most powerful people on Earth responded to that? With blinding hubris, of course. The tribal chiefs completely dismissed him. They basically laughed in his face, calling him a foolish liar. And then, completely obsessed with their own sense of invincibility, they made a really fatal mistake. They taunted him, saying, "Bring the punishment if you are truthful." I mean, they literally challenged the divine. Well, that challenge was answered. But the punishment didn't start with some sudden explosion. Instead, it was a slow, agonizing tightening of the grip. For 3 grueling years, a severe drought absolutely choked the land. The rain just stopped. Those magnificent springs and canals of Iram dried up. The lush green land that fueled all their immense wealth turned entirely desolate, and their livestock began to perish. So, desperation finally sets in. 70 of their leading men traveled to the sacred valley of Mecca to pray for rain, which was actually pretty common practice even among idolaters of that era. For 30 straight days, led by a man named Kayil bin Unbar, they prayed. And finally, on the 31st day, a really profound phenomenon happened. 3 distinct clouds appeared in the sky right before them, one white, one red, and one black. And they were told to choose one. Koil, acting on behalf of his people, joyfully chose the black cloud. In his mind, dark clouds meant salvation. He was expecting heavy, life-giving rain. But the tragedy here was absolute. Instead of a restored paradise, that dark cloud unleashed an agonizing, screaming, destructive wind. The destruction began in such a chillingly small way, just a tiny hole of wind opening up, about the size of a ring. But the pressure behind it was immense. This screaming, freezing wind blew relentlessly for 7 nights and 8 days. It spared absolutely no one, except for Prophet Hud and his small group of followers. It picked up fully grown men like they were weightless debris. It completely leveled those towering palaces of Iram, and it buried the entire arrogant civilization beneath mountains of white sand. This catastrophic event left a permanent psychological scar on the region's history. If we fast forward centuries later, we find this really fascinating reflection from the Islamic tradition. Prophet Muhammad's wife, Aisha, noticed that he would often look visibly anxious whenever dark rain clouds started gathering. When she asked him why he didn't rejoice at the promise of rain like everyone else, he replied, "What is the guarantee that there is no punishment in this cloud? The people of Ad were destroyed by the wind." He literally never forgot how easily humanity could be deceived by its own assumptions. And I think that brings us to the ultimate takeaway for this explainer. The ruins of Iram still sit out there, somewhere deep beneath the crushing sands of the empty quarter. They're a silent testament to a people who genuinely thought they were gods. So it really makes you ask yourself, in our own modern daily pursuit of wealth, architecture, and technological achievement, where exactly is the line between human progress and blinding arrogance? It's a pretty powerful moral lesson hidden beneath the sands, and one that absolutely still demands our attention today. Thanks so much for joining me, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.